Namaskar dosto, welcome to channel Toxicology on board. Today in this video we'll be discussing another DABT topic that is lead toxicity. So let's directly dive into the question. It comes under metal toxicology. Okay. So this question was taken from ABT recertification year 2009 only. So the question is which of the following is not correct regarding chronic lead poisoning? So whenever we are discussing about metal poisoning, you have major toxic metals, minor toxic metals. Metal toxicology chapter is there. I have already uploaded I've covered few metals already in my channel. I'll give the link in the description. You can go through. So today in this question we are discussing with respect to the question is with respect to whenever the metal poisoning is there, no, you have to understand not only metal poisoning, any chemical poisoning is there. You have to see upon acute exposure what are the symptoms, what are the adverse effects, and upon chronic exposure, that is repeated exposure over a period of time, what are the adverse effects are there. So this question is related to chronic lead poisoning. So the right answer will be um, so we need to identify which of the following statement is not applicable to lead poisoning. The right answer will be the green text. That is historically a common poisoning of people in the felt hat history. So this particular option, felt hat history, the metal which is responsible for causing this felt hat history, whatever the incident is there, no, that is called Mad Hatter's disease. So what is that we'll discuss in the next slides also. So that is responsible, the metal which was responsible for causing this mad hat disease or felt hat industry, whatever the incident is, occupational incident, the metal which is responsible is mercury. And that is also which form of mercury means we have to, whenever you read about mercury, you have to read about organic mercury as well as inorganic mercury. Okay, what are their target organs? Methyl mercury, for example, organic mercury, which comes under whose target organ are mostly CNS, whereas inorganic mercury, that is, if the target organ is kidney. Okay, like that you have to read. So in this case also, in the felt hat history, the form of the mercury which was used is mercuric nitrate. So whenever we are reading about metals, no, metals you have to see their salts also. As such metal, toxicology data, lower will not be available. So it will be in the form of salt. So here the form of the mercury which this particular workers were exposed is mercury nitrate. So I will explain in detail. So first one is why the option E is not applicable for lead toxicity. First we'll see. Historically, a common poisoning of people in the felt hat history. So occupationally, there were certain workers who were working in the hat making industry. They were preparing the hat. It was a culture during early 18th or the 17th century, I guess. People used to wear the hat. Men used to wear the hat. That was a that was a custom. So the hat, which in the industry where the workers were preparing this hat, they had to get exposed to mercury nitrate vapors. So upon chronic exposure of this mercury nitrate inhalation through inhalation route over a period of time, it led to a disease called occupational disease called Mad Hatter disease or erythism. Okay. So mercury, not lead, was causative agent in the felt hat history. Okay, industry. Mercury, not lead, was the causative agent in the felt hat industry. That particular disease called Mad Hatter disease. Okay, so erythema, you have what is exactly happening. What are the symptoms you can see is irritability, mood swings, and tremors. So workers they used to show over a period of time. Uh, they used to show this irritability, mood swings, those things they used to show. These were the symptoms. Okay, so particularly in the case of epidemiological no occupational hazards no, it is very difficult to identify the reason. There will be certain symptoms which be shown by the workers, but exactly tracing back to the reason why this particular disease or this particular type of symptoms is shown by the workers, trace back it to the causative agent, it becomes a very challenging, particularly for the occupational toxicologist or epidemiologist. Incident has happened, accident has happened. Now we have to identify what was the reason. Okay, it is more challenging. Okay, so anyways, what are the other options we'll see? First option was is sometimes called plumbism. So with respect to lead toxicity, no, there is a there is a coined term called plumbism. Plumbism comes from the Latin plumbum because most of these metals, if you see elements in the periodic table, you have that name, Latin name. They derived from certain origin will be there. So lead in Latin name is plumbum. That's why this particular disease, the kind of symptoms with the lead toxicity is called plumbism. Okay. And next one is second option was may cause severe abdominal pain. So lead, when when it gets deposited in the your stomach or abdomen, it causes the colic strotinema. That is called lead colic. It is called. So may cause severe abdominal pain with respect to lead exposure. Yes, that is true, particularly in the case of children. Children, what you know, there used to be, if you look into early 1940s and 50s, no, in US, the walls which were painted in the household, no, they used to contain lead paint walls. Okay, the children used to scrap that lead from the walls, and they used to consume it. So there was a oral exposure of this lead paint to the infants. As a result, particularly children were more susceptible. They used to get abdominal colic, lead colic. Okay, next one is inverse inhibition of ferrocatalysis. So when you see the RBC cycle, whatever the formation, there are different types of metal ions are involved. Zinc is involved, lead is also involved. So I don't say lead is involved. Lead is causing a disruption in this particular normal mechanism of this normal pathway of this RBC cycle. You see, that is the reason involved in the inhibition of ferrocatalysis. Correct statement. Lead inhibits ferrocatalysis. Catalase is the enzyme, and ALAD blocking heme synthesis. So lead toxicity, because of which heme formation, hemoglobin formation in the RBC, this particular cycle, this particular step will be inhibited. Zinc is, as I told you, there are metal ions, essential metal ions, they are needed. For example, here you can see zinc. Next one is last statement. Succimer chelation is a effective oral treatment. So whenever we're discussing about any toxicity, you have to discuss about the antidotes. What are the treatments? What are the symptoms? So in the case of, if you come across a person who is having lead poisoning, what are the treatment options? What is the antidote? Correct statement. Succimer. So DMSA in the option in the exam. Certain times you might get in the option as DMSA, or certain times Succimer. Succimer is an FDA approved oral chelator for lead poisoning. So this is the structure of lead, you can see. So lead, so chelating agents. So there are these metals, no, particularly dimercaptone. If you see, you have DMSA, EDTA. These are all called chelating agents. They chelate with the metal ion, and they will further what absorption of these metal ions in the systemic circulation, they will stop. So these are the things that we learned with respect to the question. So very quickly we'll go through what is the explanation which was given by the previous DABT students. Okay. So support of answer is plumbism is defined as chronic lead poisoning because the Latin word lead is coming from plumbum. Second option was may cause severe abdominal pain. Other target issues include gastrointestinal. Lead colic is a major gastrointestinal symptom of severe lead poisoning, because we are discussing here is not acute, it is chronic, and it is characterized by abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, constipation, and cramps. So this is given by the ATSDR, that is Agency for Toxic Substances Disease Registry. This is also one of the agency with respect to US. So read about ATSDR also, which they give MRL values, minimum risk level value they will give. Okay. Coming to option number C, that is which involves inhibition of ferrocatalysis. As I told you, in the formation of heme, RBC, blood formation, different pathway cycles will be there. So this particular thing is lead is, whenever there is lead poisoning is there, it is going to inhibit this enzyme ferrocatalysis. As a result, heme formation will be interrupted. So we'll discuss, we'll go through the most sensitive effect of lead are inhibition of delta-aminolevulinic acid dehydratase, that is ALAD, and ferrocatalysis. These are the two enzymes in the heme synthesis lead is going to inhibit. Ferrocatalysis catalyzes the insertion of iron into the photoporphyrin ring in the heme. So this you can see in the previous slide also, and in this picture also you can see. So iron is needed for this incorporation into this protoporphyrin. To the formation, see if you look into the RBC, to light chain to heavy chain, hemoglobin will be in the middle. So that thing you visualize whenever you are reading. Inhibition of ferrocatalysis results in accumulation of protoporphyrin, that is 9, which takes place of the heme in the hemoglobin molecule. As I told you, two light chains, two heavy chains will be there, hemoglobin structure. As the erythrocytes containing protoporphyrin 9 circulate, zinc is chelated at the site, usually occupied by the iron. So zinc is important, iron is important, lead, how all these things, metal ions are involved in the heme synthesis, that concept you try to read it. Okay. Next we'll say option number 4, that is D. Succimer chelation is an effective oral treatment. So I was discussing about the chelating agent. The oral chelating agent, that is Dimercaptosuccinic acid, DMSA, also called Succimer, have advantages over EDTA in that it can be given orally and is effective in temporarily reducing this whatever the blood level. Okay, so we'll discuss about other chelating agents also in the next slide. Very briefly, will important points that we can read with respect to lead toxicity, which are taken from the Clays and Short textbook only. So very in 2 slides only, we fastly will go through, because earlier also in my channel I have detailedly discussed about this lead toxicity. But again, it is a kind, because no matter how many times you read about arsenic, lead, mercury, they keep coming in the exam, because you have to understand these metals are major toxic metals in our nature. They are ubiquitously present. So in some or other form, we will get exposed to these metals. So there will be toxicity. Okay, you cannot avoid these metals from getting exposed from our day-to-day life. Okay, so lead is present everywhere. That is why it is called ubiquitous in nature. Most susceptible are infants and fetuses. As I told you, in children, the brain is still under developing and stage, and there are certain organs like kidney, liver still under developing stage. So whatever the concentrations of the lead in the infant or the fetus's blood circulation, blood systemic circulation is more when compared to others. So absorb at a much higher percentage than the adult. Okay, that is the reason why. More concentrations of lead in the blood levels of this infant as well fetuses is more. Okay, exposure through food, water, and air. Since it is ubiquitous in nature, it is the kind of exposure is through inhalation route, through oral route, through dermal route. Okay, through food and water also, because there are certain water what do you say, water supplies are there where the pipes are made of lead. So earlier, not now, the lead used to leach from those pipe, and water, the drinking water which you used to consume, it used to contain lead levels. There are certain wells which are containing this lead, and those water, if they're consumed by the animals or humans, like that, you will be getting through oral, through food and water exposure. Okay. Next one is 90% of the lead in the blood, that is in the RBC, that is membrane and hemoglobin in equilibrium with the plasma. Okay. So always this erythropoiesis, and try to connect and read it. Lead is also found in the bones. So another reason is calcium and lead. No, you go and check in the periodic table whether they fall into the same series of elements. So probably there is structural similarity is there. So in the place of calcium, this lead will go and deposit in the bone. The calcium hydroxyapatite, the crystal is there for the formation of bone is there. No, so also found in the bone, largest pool and slowest turnover. So once this lead go and deposited in the bone, no, again, like in the case of adipose tissue, if certain chemical will go and deposit in the adipose, their half-life, because they retain in the body for the long period of time. For example, today in year 2026, if I'm exposed to a lead metal, even if I'm not exposed to in the year 2027, 28, still, if you look into up to 2030, still that lead will be slowly leached into my blood circulation, because it is there, it is deposited in my bone. So slow turnover, largest pool. This is very important. That's why you have to understand about the kinetics, where that metal is there, where the disposition is there, where the kinetics is there, where the distribution is there, where it is going and depositing, either it is in the adipose tissue or whether it is in the bone. Okay. Also in the CNS. So if you look into CNS, no, we have two things, gray matter and white matter. So this particular thing, lead is going and deposited in the gray matter. And if you see how the deposition also they have given at based on the in which region of the brain this particular thing is going and deposit in higher concentration, that is hippocampus, next cerebellum, cerebral cortex, and medulla. Okay, try to imagine the brain, which are different parts of the brain. Okay, so that is the reason there is a coordination is there. In the case of children, no, low IQ will be there. Why? Because of this reason, and because of its lipo, I think it is able to cross the blood-brain barrier also. Those things we'll read again. Excretion is in the urine, some tubular reabsorption. So lead has association. One of the target organ toxicity is also kidney. So that also you have to see, because it is causing nephropathy, proximal tubular inclusion bodies, and lead protein complexes. Nervous system, infants, weak blood-brain barrier. As I told you, in the case of children, in the infants, brain is still developing. So the whatever the neural network is there, blood-brain barrier has a leaky blood-brain barrier. As a result, lead can enter into the brain and it will cause encephalopathy, blindness, mental retardation, and IQ. Okay, so that is the thing. Children are more susceptible, are infants, fetuses absorb much higher percentage than adults. Okay, so this you can see which age population is is responsible. Environmental persistence is because of the what is through food, water, and in the nature it is abundantly available. For example, like arsenic in the case of Bangladesh, their water bodies you can see, river bodies. Okay, so like that uranium exposure if it is there in the soil or in the water bodies. Okay, then next we'll enter into the next slide some of the other important the toxicities associated with the lead. So peripheral neuropathy we have seen foot and wrist drop will be there like this you can see here peripheral neuropathy foot and wrist drop segmental demyelination. In the case of neurons you have myelinated sheath yeah, and non-myelinated sheath where jumping of signal takes place. No, so what this particular lead is causing segmental demyelination, motor nerve more sensitive than sensory nerves. So that is the reason mental retardation, high Q, these things it is causing. Motor nerves and motor sensitive than hypertension in the case of adults. So lead toxicity might also cause elevated blood pressure. Can substitute calcium as I told no in neurotransmitter release calmodulin dependent reaction inhibit Na plus K plus ATPase interfere with the energy metabolism. So in the case of the neurotransmitter also, this lead is going to substitute calcium. If Na plus K plus ATPase pathway is there, no neurotransmitter release will be there. That particular pump it is going to inhibit. Next, hematological effects, anemia, shorten the lifespan of the RBC. As you can see, it is going to interrupt the heme synthesis, no, and that is delta aminolevulinic acid as well as ALAD. It was there no ferrocatalase. Low heme formation, iron deficiency, inhibition of aminolevulinic acid dehydratase, biomarkers for the lead exposure. So whenever certain type of poisoning is there, you have to read about what are the different biomarkers also. So reproductive toxicity, we can see sterility, low sperm counts, okay, cancer, whether lead is causing cancer or not. If you see, go back and check what is the IARC classification for this lead. Okay, so in the case of humans, there is no proven, it is not likely. But if you see in the case of rat, you can see that it causes lead causes renal that is kidney adenocarcinoma as well as tubular hyperplasia. Okay, then we have when another very important thing. So whenever to the emergency department a person comes with a lead toxicity, how the physician going to identify is they also look for button lights. This purple blue color of the gingiva. Here you can see which is the hallmark for this kind of lead poisoning. And coming to chelating agents, we have seen EDTA, BAN, DMSA, FDA licensed used as a chelating agent. So stop the video. You can go through here how the lead and different how it is affecting different organs, its ADME, its distribution, how different populations, that is children and adult populations are affected with this lead toxicity. Then we'll discuss about the last option. The last option, which is not applicable for the lead toxicity, is Mad Hatter disease, that is mercury. As I told you, no, there were workers who were preparing this particular hat. So Mad Hatter disease is also known as erythism. So in the exam, instead of Mad Hatter disease, if you come across this word erythism also, it means the same thing. It is an occupational form of chronic mercury poisoning. Okay, that the question till now what we have read is with respect to chronic lead poisoning. This Mad Hatter disease or erythism is caused by chronic mercury poisoning. It got its name because of 18th and 20th century hat makers they inhaled toxic mercury vapor while using mercuric nitrate solution. So this was the mercuric nitrate solution when they were preparing this hat. No, they were got exposed repeatedly over a period of time. These workers they inhaled this mercury nitrate vapors to treat animal fur for felt hats. So with this animal fur they used to prepare those hats. So here you can see the conditions. A man working in the hat manufacturer with no protective equipment. So these were the conditions at that particular 18th and 20th century time where people didn't have proper working conditions where the people used to work with the without PPE with this highly hazardous materials. So with no protective equipment, putting him at risk for mercury poisoning. Okay, so these are the things: excessive salivation. So these are the symptoms that we have seen in the case of the workers who were exposed to these mercury nitrate vapors. Nervous system got affected mostly. So what we have seen: irritability, insomnia, decrease in the sleep, memory loss, irritability loss, mood changes, okay, gum inflammation, that is gingivitis, excessive salivation, skin rashes, okay. So I would request, and tremors, their hands used to be shaking, okay. So in addition to that, read about other occupational diseases also, because occupational toxicology is again a very important um, uh, choice of topic for the DABT examiner whenever whenever they make the questions. And metal toxicity is also very, very important. You keep getting the questions with respect to metals, whether it is arsenic, whether it is lead, whether it is mercury. So mercury, also read about Minimata Bay disease, which is already listed in the ABT brochure. Okay. So with respect to other metal toxicity, I'll give the link in the description. Kindly go through. Whenever you read metal or any chemical, understand what is the acute exposure, what is the chronic exposure, what are the target organ of toxicity, what are the antidotes, what are the biomarkers. Those things like that you have to try to keep remembering them. Okay. Thank you so much. All the best for your exam.